Hello readers by eyes and by ears, this is Mari Chen and welcome back to my channel. Today we are continuing with another reading of Riverbay Road Men's Dormitory by Fei Tian Xiang, also known as Arise Zhang. We're starting at chapter 7 and I hope you all enjoy. Yuwen hadn't given himself a day off in a long time. He worked 6 days a week and spent the remaining day doing chores and keeping Xiao-chee company in the morning, then taking her to the park to sit and gaze at the scenery in the afternoon. Not only did he have to find ways to earn money, but he also had to take care of a baby. Living this way, he was teetering on the verge of losing himself. He requested a shift change this week and swapped with a colleague. Then he dropped Xiao-chee off at the childcare center. With a promise to pick her up at 9 that night, he bade her farewell and left for his appointment. Meanwhile, Jung Weize carefully applied his makeup. He'd been looking forward to this since the previous night, hoping chemistry would spark between him and Chang Jinxing. After all, he was the one who invited everyone. And no, Jung Weize was no longer interested in Zhang Yuwen. The reveal that Zhang Yuwen was only the sub-landlord had automatically downgraded Zhang Yuwen's rich young man appeal to an ordinary proofreader at a publishing house. He wouldn't consider Zhang Yuwen even if he was interested in him. After all, there were no benefits to being with him, beyond maybe saving on rent. Oh, how wrong you are. Oh gosh. By contrast, Chang Jinxing appeared to be well off, especially with that DSLR camera he carried around every day. He might as well have worn a t-shirt that said, "I'm rich." Moreover, he was handsome and warm-hearted, and he had a smile in his eyes whenever he looked at Jung Weize. Jung Weize thought he was a great catch. What Jung Weize didn't know was that the camera was a gift from one of Chang Jinxing's ex-boyfriends. And this warm-hearted, handsome guy had only 120.30 yuan left in his savings. His next month's rent was still up in the air. Chang Jinxing had to make money, fast. Maybe he would take on a part-time job as a wedding photographer, or perhaps do cosplay shoots for a few rich ladies. Just a few days ago, it occurred to him to set his sights on Zhang Yuwen, thinking he could woo him to save on rent, but Zhang Yuwen didn't seem to be interested in him. That only spurred his competitive nature. The more Zhang Yuwen refused to take the bait, the more he piqued Chang Jinxing's interest. It was true that his friend ran a CS outdoor arena and that the prices were low. The business owner, with whom Chang Jinxing was acquainted, was struggling with poor business, and since the place would be empty anyway, the owner agreed to waive his fee and throw in a low-cost meal if Chang Jinxing could refer players. It was a way to make some chump change. He decided to use the opportunity to hit on the sub-landlord. Chahng, on the other hand, was bored and idle. He still had some savings left, so he was in much better financial shape than the other three. After all, when he declared bankruptcy and liquidation, all that lost money belonged to the investors. But he'd been overwhelmed with stress lately, and he needed to relax a little. And hopefully this would be an opportunity to get to know his roommates. Who knows? Maybe he could net himself some new clients through them? He also had a personal motive. He had a suspicion that one of his clients was gay, and based on his observations, this client was a somewhat wealthy small business owner, a single man who led a disciplined lifestyle. He had spent tens of thousands on memberships at Chahng's fitness studio. Chahng wanted to introduce this client to a handsome guy. If they hit it off and became a couple, he might earn himself a red packet for playing matchmaker. His initial candidate of choice at first was Chang Jinxing. In fact, he thought Chang Jinxing might even offer himself up as tribute. But now, having known him for a day, he suspected Chang Jinxing was rich and promiscuous. Chahng's plan would backfire if Chang Jinxing were to cheat on his client, so instead, he temporarily shifted his sights to Zhang Yuwen. It had been a long time since Zhang Yuwen took part in this kind of group activity. He used to occasionally shoot films in remote areas, but he'd never played airsoft in the suburbs, and the anticipation of fun overtook all thoughts of observation and material gathering for his novel. And so, everyone set off with their own agendas. They waited outside the subway station for Yuwen, who arrived in a hurry and blended into the group once he'd greeted them. Aside from Weize, who wore casual clothes, everyone was in sportswear for ease of movement. Sportswear suited this group of tall, handsome guys who resembled a boy band strolling down the street. They were young, too, and each had their own distinctive presence and demeanor. Jinxing was the most eye-catching of them all. "Don't we look like a group of guys from a dorm going out together?" Yuwen smiled. Fate really did work in mysterious ways. He never imagined he might befriend a group of strangers this way. "More like a bunch of bodyguards taking their young master out to experience life," Chahng teased. Jinxing grinned. "Who's the young master?" Everyone looked at Weize, the only one in casual wear. "Oh, you guys!" Weize quickly adopted a shy expression to conceal his inner delight. They boarded the subway car. Yuwen kept quiet, leaning against the door and observing his roommates, while the other three traded banter. Weize, speaking to Jinxing, was the most animated, while Chahng stood in the middle like an EOD container. The topic of conversation turned to the best part of the countryside to live in. "Where's your hometown?" Jinxing asked Yuwen. "Guangzi County." "Oh," Yuwen chimed in. "The place where they grow sunflowers. It faces the sea and it's backed by mountains. There are lots of indigenous people there too." "Yep," said Yuwen. "There are a lot of sunflowers planted behind my family's house." "Huh, Guangzi is a surfing paradise," Chahng said. "Can you surf?" "A little," Yuwen replied. He used to be a sports enthusiast and enjoyed almost all outdoor activities from baseball to badminton to surfing. "What about Yuwen?" asked Chahng. The subway pulled into a station, and the guys turned sideways to make way for the people entering and exiting. "I'm a local from Jiangdong," Yuwen replied. "Huh. Then you should be familiar with the place," said Jinxing. "I went to university out of town, though," Yuwen explained. None of them except Yuwen were local. They all came to Jiangdong City to work and make a living. "Which university did you go to?" Weize asked Jinxing. "Jianglu University, Department of Photography." "Oh!" Everyone nodded. In truth, Jinxing had never even set foot on the campus. With a smile, Yuwen shifted his gaze away and happened to meet Yuwen's eyes. Thinking Yuwen was smiling at him, Yuwen raised his eyebrow in an inquiring expression. "How about you?" Jinxing asked Weize. "Chonghan University of Finance and Economics, major in international economics and trade." In fact, Weize had never attended university either. He'd run away from home at 18 after a fight with his family. Everyone nodded, and Chahng volunteered his own answer. "I did my postgraduate at Changling Sports University." He had actually only completed a vocational college education. "I envy you guys," Yuwen said. "I didn't go to university." His words left his boastful friends at a momentary loss for words. Fortunately, Yuwen came to the rescue. "You can consider a vocational degree." "Too busy to study," Yuwen said. "Once I entered the workforce, I realized that educational qualifications are indeed important." "Sometimes, but sometimes not so much," Yuwen said, hoping to comfort him. "Still, it's never a bad thing to find time to upgrade your credentials." "You're right." "We're here," Jinxing announced. "Let's get off at the station." They swarmed off the subway car and exited the station under the gaze of everyone around them, then transferred to a bus to the suburbs. While they were waiting for the bus, Chahng noticed that Weize had latched onto Jinxing. They were both so engrossed in their conversation he couldn't get a word in. Yuwen and Yuwen seemed more approachable, so he turned to them. Jinxing picked up the camera hanging around his neck and started taking photos of his roommates. As one, Yuwen, Yuwen, and Chen-hong looked at him and burst into laughter. "What are you laughing at?" Chang Jinxing asked, a little shy. Zhang Yuwen pointed behind him. "Someone secretly taking photos of you." It wasn't the first time that the photographer found himself being photographed on the sly. Chang Jinxing looked back to see a few high school girls waiting for the bus and taking stealthy snapshots of them with their phones. A pack of handsome guys together was indeed a pleasing sight. They showed no embarrassment at being discovered. Instead, they approached Chang Jinxing to shoot their shot. Can I have your phone number, handsome?" Chang Jinxing just smiled and waved them off, and one of the girls turned to Zhang Yuwen. "How about you? Our bestie wants to ask if you'd be friends with her." "I'm gay," Zhang Yuwen said candidly. Whoa! Oh, God. At their astonished and disappointed voices, Zhang Yuwen quickly added, "But they aren't. How about asking this guy?" He pointed at Chen-hong, who promptly gave Zhang Yuwen a light smack and told him not to talk nonsense. The bus came, and the five of them got on. Chang Jinxing generously paid the 10 yuan fare. The bus wasn't too full, and there were 4 empty seats. Everyone traded looks, and they were about to offer each other the seats when Zhang Yuwen sat down and patted his thighs. "Whoever wants to..." Wait, what? Oh, God. "Whoever wants to can sit on my lap." Sir. Chen-hong got Zhang Yuwen to move over and gestured for Zheng Weize to sit on his lap instead. Rather enjoying this, Zheng Weize took him up on his offer with a smile, feeling like a bottom going out with 4 doting tops. Oh, God. Meanwhile, Chang Jinxing and Yan sat in the back row, away from the other 3. In a rare moment of initiative, Yan asked Chang Jinxing, "You get asked for your phone number a lot, don't you?" Not that often," Chang Jinxing said, smiling. "You seem used to it." Chang Jinxing nudged Yan with his elbow and gestured for him to look ahead. "That girl's pretty." Yan glanced over and nodded. "Yeah," he said, looking back at Chang Jinxing. "I suspect you're straight." "I'm not, but in certain situations, you can treat me like I am." Chang Jinxing laughed and picked up his camera to take a close-up shot of Yan reached out to block the lens with his broad palm, but Chang Jinxing pulled it away. Inexplicably, Yan felt his heart rate pick up a little when their fingers touched. It had been a long time since he last held hands with a guy. He was trying hard to be himself today, to put aside his role as a father and forget about his job and responsibilities. He wanted to recapture those feelings from the good old days of his youth. "We're here," Chang Jinxing announced. He led everyone off the bus. The fresh, invigorating countryside air and the lush sight of nature, away from the city, pushed their worries, like empty wallets and never-ending rent obligations, to the backs of their minds. "Wow," Jung Weize stretched. "It's so nice out here." Chang Jinxing called the owner over, and everyone willingly made the payment with their phones. "Shall we begin?" asked the owner. "Are there any first-timers who need an explanation? Come, sit here. I'll keep your phones so they don't get dropped or lost while you're playing, and I'll take photos for you during the match." Everyone turned off their phones and handed them over. Zheng Weize spotted a mahjong table nearby. "We can play mahjong too?" "Yep," said the owner. "Once the match is over, you can come back here and play mahjong." He spread out a map. "Look at the map and remember as much as you can." The owner explained the rules. They could split up into a red team and a blue team, then walk to the 2 bases and advance toward the central hill. Everyone would have a virtual infrared gun, which they could aim at the opposing team. Each successful hit netted them points. If you were hit, your gun would become unusable for 15 to 30 seconds, so you needed to find a place to hide during this period. This was like a respawn cooldown. There were 3 treasure caches hidden on the middle hill. If they found one and used their gun muzzle to press the button with the corresponding color, they could capture a flag for their team. However, a flag captured during the respawn cooldown was considered invalid and wouldn't score the team any points even if they pressed the button. Victory was determined by the team's total respawns and capture flags, and the winner would receive a mysterious grand prize. This place is too big, Zhang Yuwen said. It's hard to remember the routes. Don't worry, there are markers along the way, said Chang Jinxing. How should we split the teams? The owner held out a box to them. Come over here and draw lots. But there are 5 of us, Zheng Weize protested. How are we going to make even teams? No worries, said the owner. I'll get someone from my end to join you. Just draw the lots. Everyone took turns picking a ping-pong ball from the box. Zhang Yuwen and Chang Jinxing got blue, and Yanjuan, Zheng Weize, and Chahng got red. Zheng Weize regretted that he wouldn't be in the same group as Chang Jinxing, but having sat on Chahng's lap on the bus, he was starting to feel like muscular guys had their own special charm. You could feel secure with a big, strong guy, too. It'd be a pleasant change of pace. Dude. The owner called over a man with a fair complexion who wore a sports jacket, a pair of cargo pants, and a fisherman's hat. He put away his fishing rod and walked over. The man, who the owner called Ah-chun, nodded. Sure, I'll join. Chahng looked surprised to see Ah-chun. Eh? Ah-chun greeted him and came over. They shook hands and patted each other on the shoulder. You know each other? Zhang Yuwen asked. We're friends. Chahng smiled and exchanged glances with Ah-chun. Everyone said hello to him, wondering if he might be some experienced player. It's my first time playing this, Ah-chun said. He took off his fisherman's hat. His hair was slightly messy, but overall, he was quite handsome. He looked a little younger without the hat, perhaps in his late 20s. He received his firearm and sensor vest and joined Zhang Yuwen and Chang Jinxing's team. I'm Suh-chun, he said by way of introduction. Suh-chun. Zhang Yuwen and Chang Jinxing briefly introduced themselves. Then they put on their off-road jackets and took their submachine guns, which made them look even cooler. Take the 2 of them over, the owner said to Suh-chun. I'll take the other 3. Okay. Suh-chun drove Zhang Yuwen and Chang Jinxing along the winding path to the blue team base. Smiling, Chang Jinxing asked, Do you come here often? I come here occasionally to fish, said Suh-chun. You're acquainted with Lao Yo? Mr. Yo was the owner of the arena. I helped him take some photos for a promotional brochure once, Chang Jinxing explained. Suh-chun and Chang Jinxing chatted for a bit, and Zhang Yuwen tactfully declined to butt into their conversation. This new guy wasn't exceptionally handsome, and his fashion sense wasn't all that great either, but despite his casual dress, he was clean and carried himself well. He had the air of a knowledgeable, mature, and sedate person. Even his name, Suh-chun, sounded pleasant. Perhaps the person who named him was educated and well-read. Add the surname Hua, and it sounded just like it had been transliterated from another language. Very exotic. Zhang Yuwen took note, planning to steal this name, with a change of surname, for a character in his novel. Are you guys from the university dorm? Suh-chun asked Zhang Yuwen as he drove. Chang Jinxing glanced at Zhang Yuwen, ready to spout nonsense out of habit. But Zhang Yuwen laughed and cut him off. No, but we're roommates. I see. Suh-chun nodded. No wonder you didn't invite any girls. If we had, we wouldn't come out here to the open country, said Zhang Yuwen. It'd be pretty tactless to bring a date somewhere so remote. Finding this idea amusing, Suh-chun nodded again. He stopped as they arrived at the woods. We're here, he announced. We'll go up from here on foot. The camp was just slightly over a mile away, but the moment they stepped into the woods, the place transformed into a deserted wilderness, so silent it was unsettling. The late autumn mountain wind howled through the forest, chilly enough to make them shiver. Just follow the markers on the trees, Suh-chun said, and don't pin your hopes on me. I can't remember the map either. You've played this before, right? Zhang Yuwen asked Chang Jinxing, so lead the way. Just once, and I was on the red team. Why is this route so difficult? We have to climb rocks and everything? The red team's route is usually more challenging, Suh-chun explained. Most of the time, they assign people who've played before to the blue team. Also, heads up, you can't go beyond the areas blocked off by barbed wire. Chang Jinxing was starting to worry. He was the one who'd recommended this place, but it was cold and desolate, and so far, it seemed boring. If the others found it dull, then even if they didn't say anything to Chang Jinxing, they might silently grouse about wasting money. There was also no walkable path on the northern side of the hill, but Zhang Yuwen could handle it. He used to traverse terrain like this when he went to look at filming locations with the crew or inspected sites with the director. They came to a slightly steep slope with no way forward. Suddenly, the three of them were startled when Jung Weize's shot rang out in the distance. Zhang Yuwen laughed. So the teams are pretty close. I'll go and take a look, Suh-chun said. He attempted to climb the rock. Zhang Yuwen was adjusting the electric submachine gun in his hands when a playful impulse overtook him. He fired a shot at Suh-chun's back, triggering a beep, beep, beep that indicated he'd been hit. Hey! Suh-chun thought he was being ambushed, but he looked back to see Zhang Yuwen aiming at Chang Jinxing. Chang Jinxing exaggerated a yell and made to retaliate, and Zhang Yuwen darted behind a tree. Stop fooling around and get up here, said Suh-chun. Zhang Yuwen leapt and clambered up the rocks, with Chang Jinxing in hot pursuit and looking for revenge. Suh-chun aimed his gun at Chang Jinxing, who froze, but Suh-chun was just joking. The two guys pulled him up. Watch out for snakes, Chang Jinxing cautioned. Zhang Yuwen, scouting ahead, responded offhandedly. Aren't they all hibernating this time of year? From time to time, he pressed the reload button on his gun, making noises that sent nearby birds scattering. Following Suh-chun, Chang Jinxing added, You work in Jiangdong? Yeah, Suh-chun replied. I work at a foreign trade company. What about you? I do photography. Chang Jinxing mimicked pressing a shutter, all the while keeping an eye on Zhang Yuwen, who was attempting to navigate a large thicket. Ahead, an open area was visible through the sparse trees. Mind your clothes, said Suh-chun. Zhang Yuwen almost got stuck in the middle of the thicket, but he managed to make his way over. Suddenly, he stopped pressing the button. Huh, I see them, Chen called out. Quick, fire! All three of them dashed for cover. It turned out the open area had been set up as the battlefield for the red and blue teams. There were plenty of makeshift shelters made up of tires and wooden crates. Zhang Yuwen quickly ducked behind one and provided cover fire for his teammates. Suh-chun raced over, keeping his head down, and from the other side, they heard Zheng Weize yelling. Chen opened fire as he dragged Zheng Weize toward one of the makeshift forts. Don't bother with Weize, Zhang Yuwen said. His aim is off. Watch out for the sniper, Yanjun. With his gun mounted on a crate, Yanjun took aim at Chang Jinxing as he darted out of the thicket. He fired, hitting him right on target. Chang Jinxing let out an exaggerated shout and scrambled for cover. Chapter 8. Leave Chen to me, Chang Jinxing yelled. You handle Yanjun. I don't know their names, said Suh-chun. Zhang Yuwen made two standard hand signals used by the special forces. Crouch down and gather here. Suh-chun understood and ducked over from another cover, while Zhang Yuwen popped his head up and traded gunfire with Yanjun. Neither hit the other, but it bought Suh-chun time. Were you in the military? Suh-chun asked in disbelief. Nope, Zhang Yuwen laughed. I learned it from TV. You can handle those two over there. I'll keep watch over the sniper. Jinxing, circle over there and scare them. I've been hit, Chang Jinxing yelled. You'll respond by the time you run over. Why is there another player? Chang Jinxing cried. Lao Yo, this isn't fair. The owner's laughter rang out from the woods. Your team's battle prowess was unbalanced to begin with. The fight got a lot harder with the owner joining in, but Zhang Yuwen stayed calm. He popped up, intending to shoot Yanjun, who opened fire and ducked behind a shelter, but the ball was now in Zhang Yuwen's court. He mounted his gun. Oh my God, you cannot be this hot. I'm sorry. This Oh, this artwork. Oh my god. It's useless to aim for the head, Suh-chun reminded him as he reloaded from behind his cover. You can only hit the body. Got it. Where's Jinxing? Zhang Yuwen asked. Get ready to flank them. Suh-chun made an okay gesture and dashed over with his head down to support Chang Jinxing. Now that they'd encountered their opponents, everyone quickly got into the game, fighting with such gusto that they forgot ever thinking that it was boring. Zhang Yuwen remained locked in combat with Yanjuan the entire time, neutralizing the other team's strongest player and even trading shots with the owner a few times. Meanwhile, Suh-chun and Chang Jinxing worked together to ambush Chahng and Jung Weize, successfully putting them into a cooldown period of 30 seconds. I've been shot! Jung Weize seized his chance to fall into Chang Jinxing's arms. Get up, Yanjuan shouted. He's the enemy. Amused, Chang Jinxing turned Jung Weize around and held him with one arm while pointing the gun at him with his other, effectively holding him hostage. Jung Weize even played along. Yanjuan had no choice but to leave Zhang Yuwen and go over to assist. Where's Suh-chun? Zhang Yuwen looked around. Suh-chun whistled at him from behind a tree. I'm going to take Yanjuan down. Keep an eye on the bodies. Who's Yanjuan? Suh-chun asked. The tall one. Zhang Yuwen darted out to charge him from behind. Yanjuan, who had been on guard against Zhang Yuwen all this time, whipped around at once. They opened fire, hitting each other. Their vests started flashing, and they ducked for cover. Yanjuan even somersaulted, his movements elegant and beautiful. On the other side, Suh-chun caught up with Yanjuan. Despite valiant attempts, he was unable to dodge and found himself hit again after he respawned. As Suh-chun chased him, Yanjuan shouted, Back up! Requesting backup! The owner came to his aid, only to be ambushed and gunned down by Zhang Yuwen. Chang Jinxing, still holding Jung Weize hostage, was engaged in a fierce battle with Chahng. Stop being so cooperative! This was driving Chahng crazy. But I've been shot, Jung Weize said. Chahng was speechless, but Jung Weize was still stalling for time. Chang Jinxing was so engrossed in his fight with Chahng that he forgot to reload. Jung Weize ambushed him, and Chang Jinxing was hit. Yelling, Chahng unleashed a barrage of shots and then charged over to rescue Jung Weize. The red team was nearly wiped out, and the blue team successfully drove them off. Yanjuan led the remaining people up the hill. Chahng's voice drifted over from a short distance away. We need to change tactics. Zhang Yuwen, Suh-chun, and Chang Jinxing all gathered, and Zhang Yuwen laughed, shouting, Say that louder! Both sides cracked up, and the blue team quickened their pace and advanced toward the hilltop. At the top sat a deserted slide, a carousel, and bumper cars, resembling an abandoned amusement park. The owner withdrew, making it 3-on-3 again. Another intense gunfight broke out. Zhang Yuwen thought the flags would be well concealed, but to his surprise, they were placed in several conspicuous spots. Unprecedented chaos broke out as they fought to snatch the flags. Everyone was running around the amusement park, flipping over fences and hiding behind the rides, firing wildly. Zhang Yuwen knew there was trouble afoot when he realized he couldn't see Jung Weize. Watch out for Weize! Yanjuan appeared from nowhere behind Zhang Yuwen and pressed his gun into his back. You've lost. Bang. Zhang Yuwen whipped his head around to see Yanjuan smiling. He smiled too, and they both swiftly retreated. He knew Yanjuan had made a point of coming over to pay him back for the earlier ambush. Suh-chun dropped everything to save Zhang Yuwen, but it was too late. The sound of the flag being seized rang out from the corner of the amusement park. Unexpectedly, the music that came with the first flag capture was Happy Birthday. Zhang Yuwen was too busy trying to find the second flag to roast this bizarre choice, but it was pandemonium. He had to hide under the slide with Suh-chun. The other three kept advancing. If Zhang Yuwen and Suh-chun so much as poked their heads out, they would get shot. Amidst the chaos, Chang Jinxing managed to snag the second flag. The teams scattered again, trying their best to claim the third flag. In the end, Chahng was the one who seized it. Yay! Zhang, WAY-zuh, Yuwen, and Chahng showed themselves. The final score was 2-1 in favor of the red team. Zhang, Yuwen, and the others put down their guns. The game was over. Everyone was sweaty. Jinxing, who often stayed up late, had almost dropped dead several times during the match. This kind of competitive game was just too intense. Suh-chun high-fived Zhang, Yuwen, and Jinxing. You guys are amazing, Zhang Yuwen told them. Zhang WAY-zuh laughed. Yuwen even pointed a finger gun at Zhang Yuwen and winked. The owner and Suh-chun drove the starving guys down the hill. Back at the camp, everyone collapsed onto the sofa, physically worn out but still in high spirits. They chattered among themselves, occasionally cracking jokes and then erupting into laughter. The intense match, by transforming them into comrades in arms and adversaries, had drawn them all closer together. From a professional player's standpoint, the match was a mess, like kindergarten kids fighting over fruit, but the two teams were still able to appreciate each other. Mr. Yo handed out the prize, a coupon for a free game on their next visit. The players grumbled about pyramid schemes, but they eventually accepted it. The owner knew they would take the coupon. He'd seen this happen many times. Yes, business was poor, but those groups that did come to play were always bubbling over the enthusiasm and cheer after the game was done. The relationships all the stronger for having played. The joy was contagious, and bringing people happiness was his business's raison d'etre. Zhang Yuwen noticed that one of his comrades in arms was missing. Where's Suh-chun? He was still outside last time I saw him, the owner said. But before Zhang Yuwen could go talk to Suh-chun, he returned to say his goodbyes, wearing his fisherman's hat and carrying his fishing rod in a bag. I have to go, he said. I still have something on tonight. Aren't you staying for the food? Jinxing asked. They all agreed. It was a pity he was leaving. Can we exchange contacts? Suh-chun asked. Everyone agreed readily. Of course. Although the red team hadn't interacted with him much, they were happy to make a new friend. Suh-chun added all the contact details, then bade them farewell. A moment later, they heard his car engine starting, and he was gone. Mahjong? Jinxing asked. Sure, said Zhang Yuwen. The food isn't ready yet, anyway. It's been a while since I last played, said Chahng. Come on, guys, let's win back our rent. Everyone laughed. There were 4 seats at the mahjong table. Yuwen initially said, count me out, but in the end, he couldn't refuse them and was bullied into sitting down. Zhang WAY-zuh sat behind Jinxing, helping him with his tiles. Jinxing was confident in his own skills. He had indeed thought he might offset his household expenses, but after Chahng joked around, he found it harder to go ahead with the plan. Zhang Yuwen was a bad player, mostly just going along with the others. He didn't mind. He'd be happy to toss out a bet of 50 or 100,000 yuan for fun. Never mind 5 or 10. But Chahng was different. He was addicted and played for an hour, despite his poor skills. Everyone felt awkward about winning money from the sub-landlord, winning from him when they hadn't even paid rent yet. What kind of monster would do that? So they set Chahng up as the fall guy instead. He became the whole table's target and suffered the greatest losses in the end, with a few hundred going to Jinxing. Far from moping, though, Chahng was happy to lose and displayed extraordinary sportsmanship. He remained jovial throughout. Meanwhile, Zhang Yuwen managed to maintain his dignity as the sub-landlord because Yuwen kept giving him tiles. He only lost a bit of money to Jinxing. Yuwen, for his part, lost a little to Zhang Yuwen. Debts reassigned, he paid Jinxing instead. Crediting Zhang WAY-zuh for his win, Jinxing handed the winnings over to him for safekeeping and tasked him with buying groceries. That way, Jinxing could cook for everyone when Yuwen officially moved in next week. When dinner was ready, the dishes served were unexpectedly sumptuous, featuring ginger duck, poached chicken, braised pork, and a huge fish that Suh-chun had caught that afternoon. The owner's wife was a great cook, and she prepared the fish 3 ways: braised fish belly, steamed fish head, and fried fish bones. Even Jinxing was shocked. "Why weren't there this many dishes the last time I came here?" he asked. The owner laughed. "We have an extra fish today. Chen usually doesn't take home what he catches. He left it for everyone to enjoy, and that's why it looks like so much." The dinner was a perfect end to a joyful day. Jinxing took lots of photos of their shared memories, and in the bus on the way back, Weize fell asleep against his shoulder. Aside from the small snag when they were assigned to different teams, Weize had fulfilled his wish. He spent all of his time with Jinxing. Chahng stood with Yuwen and Yuwen, chatting with them off and on. Yuwen had one hand on Chahng's shoulder while he sent messages on his phone with his other hand. The light from the phone illuminated his face. "Are you chatting with Suh-chun?" Chahng asked. "I was thanking him for the fish. How long have you known each other?" "Not long. He's a member of my gym," Chahng lied. "Have you told him about our group's relationship?" The question was a little odd, but Yuwen knew Chahng was referring to the roommates' sexual orientations. Maybe Suh-chun had picked up on it? "I didn't say anything. I don't know whether or not he could tell." "I think he could," Yuwen chimed in. "He was observing each of us pretty closely. I could just be overthinking it, though." "What if he's gay? Don't we still have a room? Maybe we can ask him if he wants to stay there," Chahng joked. "That's the landlord's room," said Yuwen. "It's not for rent." In number 7 Riverbay Road, there was one bedroom that was always locked. It had been his deceased grandparents' bedroom when they were alive, and their photographs were still inside. Yuwen always kept the room intact. When he felt sad or happy, he would spend a little time alone in it. "I don't think he's gay." Yuwen followed the information on the messaging app and found Suh-chun's Facebook, which contained some landscape photos. These scenery photos have no filters, and his selfies aren't retouched either. It's clearly a straight guy's work. "I guess he's either a boss or a senior employee," Chahng said. Yuwen didn't comment, just scrolled through the app a bit longer and then closed it. The bus arrived at the station. Jinxing and Weize were sound asleep, but after the other guys woke them up, they groggily disembarked to transfer to the subway. "I'm getting off here," Yuwen said suddenly as they pulled into Jiangnan's Jinqiao station. "I had a great time today. Thank you." Everyone said, "How polite," and then burst into laughter again. Without saying another word or looking back, Yuwen turned and got off the subway car. His goodbyes were always so abrupt. Yuwen got off one stop before Riverbay Road and had to walk some distance to pick up Xiao-chee. He was late by an hour, which pricked at his conscience. He'd been having so much fun outside that he hadn't even thought about lonely Xiao-chee waiting in the childcare center all afternoon. The others rode one more stop to Riverbay Road. As soon as they set foot inside, Jinxing and Weize perked up, each one making a loud fuss as they went to take their respective showers. Jinxing wanted to invite them to the bar, but Yuwen, utterly exhausted, vetoed the motion mercilessly. Outside, it began to drizzle. Winter was just around the corner. The lights of Jiangnan district blazed as shops of the bar street opened for business. Saturday night was just beginning. Chapter 9. After a few bouts of rain, winter entered the game. Golden ginkgo leaves, damp from the rain, paved the asphalt road. When a resident of Riverbay Road woke in the morning and opened their floor-to-ceiling windows, the breath they expelled turned into white mist. Jiangdong always saw an unbroken spell of wet weather when the season changed, with only a few rare sunny days brightening the month. The Liujin River's water level gradually dropped as it entered the dry season, when the dried-up riverbed became prime real estate for idle schoolchildren to poke and dig around. Yuwen's lease expired in a week, and he had moved his stuff out, more or less. He decided to take Xiao-chee to number 7 Riverbay Road. Recently, he'd been coming to the new house every day after work to observe the others' living habits. Yuwen retired to his room daily at 8 in the evening like a grandpa. Weize often ate instant noodles in his room, and he, too, rarely went to the living room after 8. Yuwen hadn't seen Chang Jinxing yet. Allegedly, he never returned before 2 in the morning. Chahng was the only one who was sometimes at home all day, but other times he was nowhere to be found. Yuwen wasn't sure if he could avoid his roommates. He'd thought the coast was clear when he moved in the crib and accidentally made a grand entrance instead. Forget it. Just move in, he told himself. The new house had a great vibe and Zhang Yuan's attitude was reassuring, so Yuwen opted to set off on Tuesday, carrying a backpack with the last of the diapers, bottles, medicines, and milk powder. With Xiao-chee in a carrier on his chest, he made his way to number 7 Riverbay Road. Today, Papa is taking you to our new house, Yuwen said to Xiao-chee in a hushed voice. She smiled, facing out at the house in front of them. We'll be living here from now on, so be good. He took a deep breath, unlocking the door with his fingerprint, and entered. Seeming to understand the gravity of the situation, Xiao-chee behaved herself, simply casting curious looks around. Yuwen breathed a sigh of relief. There was no one in the living room and the housekeepers had already left for the day. Xiao-chee reached out to grab the decoration on the shoe cabinet, but Yuwen stopped her and took her into his room. Papa! Xiao-chee called out. The room had already been cleaned. Yuwen set her on the floor and smiled as he went to boil water to prepare formula for her. He'd gotten a kettle and all the baby supplies ready in the room so that he wouldn't need to keep going in and out. He would get up at 7:30 every morning and take Xiao-chee to the childcare center, then bring her back after 7 in the evening. That way, he wouldn't disturb his roommates. Yuwen carried Xiao-chee back. It's too cold outside. We can't go out. This room was much bigger than the other rented rooms, and he could use the remaining space to roll out a playmat, put out some toys, and set up a spot for reading picture books. He was pleased with the place. So it was that Yuwen moved in quietly. On the first day, no one noticed Xiao-chee. The second day was the same. On the third day, however, when he was bringing her home, he ran into Zhang Yuwen, who was repairing the printer with ink-covered hands. Anxiety gripped Yuwen as their eyes met. Zhang Yuwen looked baffled when he spotted Xiao-chee. Then he broke into a smile. Hi. He hurried away to wash his hands. Upon his return, he asked Xiao-chee, What's your name? Xiao-chee said, Papa! Zhang Yuwen burst out laughing. Her name is You-chee, Yuwen explained. She calls every man she sees Papa. Papa! Xiao-chee looked up at Yuwen again from her spot on his chest. Zhang Yuwen helped Yuwen take off his backpack. Have you been sleeping here lately? Said Yuwen. His fears, it seemed, were unfounded, and he was beginning to realize that Zhang Yuwen had a magical ability to instantly relax everyone who interacted with him. He seized this chance to sound Zhang Yuwen out on his daily routine. You haven't gone to bed yet. I thought you'd be asleep by now. Not quite this early, Zhang Yuwen said, but soon. I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandfather was a doctor, so I inherited the habit of sleeping and waking up early. Aren't you going to put her down? Yuwen unstrapped the carrier and put Xiao-chee down at the side of the sofa. Zhang Yuwen clapped his hands at her and asked, Want a hug? Xiao-chee came over to let him hug her, but less than 20 seconds later, she spread her arms out at Yuwen and called, Papa! Zhang Yuwen handed her back. Surprised, Yuwen said, She never lets anyone other than me and the nanny hug her. Whoa! Zhang Yuwen didn't catch the plot hole in his words, merely taking it as a polite remark. Maybe she really likes me. Wow! WAY-zuh exclaimed in surprise. He'd heard the conversation and come out of his room to investigate. It's so cute! Oh my god! WAY-zuh came over for a hug, but Xiao-chee started crying and tried to dodge him. Yuwen quickly patted her to pacify her. She's a little shy around strangers at this age, he explained. Zhang Yuwen realized Yuwen was telling the truth when he said she never let strangers hug her. But I managed to hug her, he boasted to WAY-zuh. WAY-zuh felt like crying. His self-esteem would never recover if she didn't let him hug her today. Eventually, a tearful Xiao-chee permitted a half hug, and WAY-zuh took his chance to lean against Yuwen. But Chahng returned not long thereafter, triggering another round of cajoling and another bout of crying. It wasn't until Xiao-chee wet herself that Yuwen brought her to their room. He poked his head back out to ask Zhang Yuwen, "Will we disturb you?" "Of course not," Zhang Yuwen said quickly. He was drinking milk and chatting with Chahng at the dining table. "This house has great soundproofing. Even if she bawls, it won't disturb us." Yuwen had already tested the room's soundproofing, and it was indeed great. "Is your niece spending the night here?" Chahng asked. "I'll send her home later," Yuwen said. "Her parents are very busy. They work overtime a lot." Man, that's tough. Chahng understood it all too well, though it was hard to say whether his comment was about Yuwen or his brother and sister-in-law. "Just call for us if you need help," Zhang Yuwen said. "We don't go to bed that early." Relief washed over Yuwen when he saw his roommate's enthusiasm. "I'm used to it." He closed the door and filled the basin with water to bathe Xiao-chee. Then he dressed her, placed her in her crib, and turned the TV on for her before he took his own turn in the shower. The new house was a comfortable environment. No noisy neighbors, plenty of hot water, and no cold drafts in the bedroom. Zhang Yuwen had already turned on underfloor heating for the whole house, so he didn't have to worry about Xiao-chee catching a cold. In fact, the house was even warmer than the childcare center. The room was clean, and the air was fresh and free of dust from the road outside. Yuwen was grateful to Zhang Yuwen from the bottom of his heart. Zhang Yuwen had saved him. That night, he observed again, but the others soon went back to their own rooms, and he no longer needed to put up an act. With Xiao-chee, he went to bed with peace of mind and slept through the night. As usual, he didn't run into anyone when he woke up the next day. The weekend rolled around, and Jinxing kept his promise. He went to the supermarket with Jung Weize and bought a lot of groceries so he could whip up a feast to celebrate everyone moving in and getting to know each other. Yuwen felt a little put on the spot. "I might have to take care of my niece today." "Let's eat together." Jinxing still had yet to meet Xiao-chee. "I can make her some baby food." "You can even make baby food?" Yuwen was amazed. "It's just mashed carrots and potatoes. Easy peasy." The kitchen was fully equipped with a variety of cooking utensils. As Jinxing cooked, Chahng assisted him, commenting from time to time that his methods were unhealthy. Together, they made quite a mess of the kitchen. Zhang Yuwen didn't mind, though, and anyway, the housekeepers would be there the next day to put everything back to usual. Overall, Zhang Yuwen was satisfied with his observational subjects. He was never bothered by any of them, though he didn't know if they bothered each other. Gradually, he was coming to see them as friends and not model dummies, and even beginning to like them a bit. "You have the day off, right?" Zhang Yuwen asked Yuwen. "Let Xiao-chee sit here and eat with us. I'll go and borrow a baby chair from the cafe next door." "I'll go," Yuwen said hurriedly. "And in that case, I'll pick Xiao-chee up later." "Bye-bye," Zhang Yuwen said. It was still raining outside. Yuwen was wearing a black knee-length trench coat and carrying a black umbrella. He was in a good mood. It had been a long time since he'd experienced such a heartwarming atmosphere. His roommates even felt a little like family. He forced himself not to harbor any wishful thoughts. After all, the world was full of liars, and people often gave the illusion of warmth and tender affection before their disguises were ripped away. But even if it was just for one day, Yuwen couldn't help but daydream. What if he was successful in his career? What if the house was his? What if he had a lover like Zhang Yuwen? And what if that lover was willing to raise Xiao-chee with him? It was no easy task to start a new phase in life with so many what-ifs. He abandoned his what-ifs. It was clear that Zhang Yuwen had no interest in him beyond friendship, and his observation told him that Zhang Yuwen's friendliness extended to everyone he met. Yuwen was no different from the rest. Winter had come, and the flu was set loose upon the city. Many people wore masks, coughing incessantly. Yuwen worried about infection in the childcare center. Many parents had already come to take their children home. He considered keeping Xiao-chee home for a day. He could take another day off tomorrow. But how was he going to explain it? The heating in the childcare center was turned up, and Xiao-chee's face was flushed red. After he picked her up, Yuwen shielded her from the drizzle with an umbrella as they walked back, trying his best to protect her from the chilly wind. They arrived home to chaos in the kitchen. "You're back." Zhang Yuwen was wiping up some borscht that had spilled onto the floor. Earlier, Chahng accidentally scalded himself while bringing out the soup, adding to the mayhem. Yuwen was struck dumb by the sight. "Oh wow, Xiao-chee, you're here." Weize made a beeline for her. He adored the baby, though his fondness came partially from the heart and partially from thinking it was the right way to act when there was a baby around. "Still remember me?" "Still remember Uncle Weize?" Yuwen asked. "I'm too young to be an uncle," Weize protested. "I'll wipe it up," Yuwen said to Zhang Yuwen as he set Xiao-chee down to help with the housework. Weize brought out a stuffed toy from his room to play with her. She loved it, babbling happily and toddling around, holding onto the sofa with one hand for support and the toy with the other. "Xiao-chee's mom is working the night shift tonight. Can she sleep here for a night?" Yuwen asked. "Of course." Zhang Yuwen was fond of the little baby. "Can you manage?" "It's no problem for me. I'm just worried we'll disturb you." Yuwen didn't meet Zhang Yuwen's eyes as he went to change the rags. The aroma wafting the kitchen made him feel even more homesick. "Chef." Yuwen patted Chang Jinxing's arm as Chang Jinxing tasted the soup. He smiled at Zhang Yuwen when he came out of the kitchen again. "What?" Zhang Yuwen asked, puzzled. "We're friends," Yuwen said. "Yeah, we are. What about it?" Yuwen wanted to confess something to Zhang Yuwen. If Zhang Yuwen had just laughed him off, he would have dropped the idea. But Zhang Yuwen said, "Yeah," which made him feel like maybe Zhang Yuwen could understand his difficulties. However, this wasn't the best time for it. Chang Jinxing's culinary skills were as good as advertised. The braised pork knuckles were tender. The huge platter of blanched seafood included springy prawns and smooth shellfish, and the piping hot steamed fish was perfectly cooked and seasoned with soy sauce. More than half of the fish was devoured as soon as it was served. Chang Jinxing flipped it over while he was serving the dishes, and by the time he went back into the kitchen for the vegetables and came back out to take his seat at the dining table, all that was left of the fish was bones. "Oh, sorry," Chahng said. "We didn't wait for you." "The flavor of a dish starts changing the moment it leaves the pot," Chang Jinxing said with a smile. "If you want to taste it at its most delicious, you have to eat it as soon as possible. That's how you show respect to the chef." He'd put a lot of thought into impressing his roommates, meticulously planning the meals so that the 6 dishes and the soup were served at almost the same time. This was the perseverance of a great chef. "How long are you two going to keep wiping the floor?" Chang Jinxing said as he served up the last dish. "Let's dig in." Zhang Yuwen nonchalantly separated from an embarrassed Yuwen. A group of gay guys living together would inevitably enjoy teasing each other, and the best way to avoid being teased was to strike first and tease someone else. Zhang Yuwen understood this well, but based on his observations, any two of these guys could easily make up a pair. There were so many possible combinations he didn't know where to start. When all the dishes were served and everyone raised their glasses for a toast, Zhang Yuwen chose a pair and launched his attack. "To Xinge's and sister-in-law's health." WAY-zuh was teaching Xiao-chee to say "thank you" when he heard this. Hey, don't talk nonsense," he exclaimed, exaggerating his response in both embarrassment and excitement. "Who knew you could be so cheeky?" Zhang Yuwen raised his glass. "Now you know." Everyone roared with laughter. "Zhang Yuwen looks serious and decent on the surface," Chahng remarked, "but deep down, he's all mischief." Zhang Yuwen approved of this evaluation and had no intention of refuting it. But he did interrupt to change the subject back to Chang Jinxing and WAY-zuh. They all started ribbing WAY-zuh about whether he waited for Chang Jinxing to return home every night, and what were they always doing in Chang Jinxing's room. It was true. WAY-zuh liked going into Chang Jinxing's room to lie on his bed and chat with him. Chang Jinxing never chased him away either. WAY-zuh gave Chang Jinxing skincare products and face masks, and Chang Jinxing accepted them all. Chang Jinxing kept smiling, offering neither confirmation nor denial. which was probably a typical player strategy. Zhang Weize, however, was blushing hard from all the teasing. Seeing that Zhang Weize was about to get worked up, Chun-hong stepped in to smooth things over. You're the youngest here, so everyone sees you as their young brother. We're just fooling around. He put an affectionate arm around Zhang Weize. The joking finally stopped. Yuwen, who had been seriously feeding Xiaoqi baby food while everyone else roasted Zhang Weize and Chang Jinxing, occasionally laughed out loud at their interactions. He'd had a bit of red wine that Zhang Yuwen had brought out for the occasion, and the lock on his heart was coming loose a little. He almost believed these were his friends now. Someone in your family must be a chef. Zhang Yuwen only had to look at Chang Jinxing's food presentation to guess. These are truly remarkable culinary skills. Chang Jinxing winked at Zhang Yuwen, partly teasing and partly hinting. And Zhang Yuwen let him off without probing further. Thank you, Yuwen. Chun-hong raised his glass again. It's thanks to you that we could all get to know each other. Yeah. Everyone set down their chopsticks and raised their glasses. That's the work of fate. Zhang Yuwen clinked glasses with them. As the group of good friends came together, drinking to their heart's content, the crisp clinking of their wine glasses sounded just like the jingling of coins in a purse. A simultaneous reminder to all four tenants that they still hadn't paid their rent. Silence hung in the air for a brief few seconds before they awkwardly laughed it off. After dinner, Yuwen and Chun-hong chatted as they washed dishes in the kitchen. Xiaoqi, who was learning to walk, toddled around the house, Zhang Weize close behind her. What do you do for a living? Chun-hong asked Yuwen. You always seem to be very busy. Equipment sales, Yuwen replied. Introduce some clients to me when you have the time. Chun-hong handed the washed dishes to Yuwen, who wiped them dry and put them away. Sure, I'll ask around, Yuwen said non-committally. Where's your gym? No gym, but I'll be happy to provide some home fitness training, Chun-hong corrected himself. He only had the service, no longer the facility. Yuwen hummed in acknowledgement, and Chun-hong added, Business has been bad with the economic downturn. Yeah, Yuwen agreed. Our company has also seen a drastic drop in business. Chun-hong had never talked about his business to his roommates before, but after all that wine, he felt like talking to someone. In his eyes, Zhang Weize was a kid. Chang Jinxing didn't seem like he had a proper job, and Zhang Yuwen might not necessarily understand him. Yuwen was the only one who seemed like he might be on the same wavelength as Chun-hong. Zhang Yuwen entered the kitchen. You can leave the utensils. The housekeepers will be here tomorrow to clean up. They only have Saturdays off. It's fine, Chun-hong replied. We're done washing up. Want a cup of coffee? No thanks. I might not be able to sleep later. I'll play with Xiaoqi for a while. After clearing the dining table and cleaning up the kitchen, Chun-hong and Yuwen stood in the backyard for a while, drinking coffee and chatting about how tough it was to make a living. Chun-hong had picked the right person. Yuwen knew how it was. Life was tough and money hard to earn, especially now, when there seemed to be no end to inflation and the economic recession. Neither of them knew when things would take a turn for the better. As they chatted, they began to lament the unfairness of the world. To be honest, Chun-hong said, it's only when I'm back here that I feel like I can breathe and put everything to the back of my mind. Yuwen looked out into the night, lost in thought. Me too. Number 7 Riverbay Road was like a utopia. But what use was a momentary escape? Sooner or later, they still had to return to reality. Because the homeowner is rich, Chun-hong sighed. In the end, you've still got to have money. We will. Yuwen had never given up hope for the future. I hope I can afford a house like this one day. Coffee finished, Yuwen returned to the living room, picked Xiaoqi up, and took her back to his room. She has to stay here and sleep with me tonight, he told Zhang Weize. That's great. Zhang Weize smiled. I can see her again tomorrow. I'll be sure to keep my voice down tonight. No need, Yuwen said hurriedly. I'll be thankful as long as she doesn't disturb you guys. It kept surprising him that his roommates were all kind people whose first thought was not to disrupt Xiaoqi's sleep. Xiaoqi had been having a great time. This was the happiest she'd been over the past few months. Yuwen daydreamed as he bathed her. He found himself overcome with a sudden urge to find a partner. He was caught off guard by the way the dinner's lively atmosphere had magnified his loneliness. Even after he coaxed Xiao-chee to sleep, Yanne continued to toss and turn in bed. The night wasn't a good one. Xiao-chee cried a few times in the middle of the night and vomited milk all over her pillow. Yanne sprang out of bed to hug her, hoping to soothe her, only to find that she was burning up. A fever. Oh no, Yanne thought. She probably caught a virus at the daycare center. Ever since she was born, Xiao-chee had rarely been sick. Yanne turned on the lights and fed her medicine, but she resisted, and her cries grew louder as she struggled with him. Then Yanne applied a fever relief patch. Xiao-chee was obviously very uncomfortable, leaving him no choice but to carry her around the room. It was almost an hour before Xiao-chee fell back into a fitful sleep. Yanne groped in the dark to clean up the vomit in the crib, then set the linens aside to wash by hand tomorrow. When he was finally done, he checked the time. Already 1 a.m. He couldn't send Xiao-chee to the childcare center tomorrow. They wouldn't accept babies with fevers. He'd need to wait until she recovered. He had to take another day off. Yanne thought about who could cover his shift and sent his colleague a message, then checked Xiao-chee's temperature again. Her fever hadn't subsided. He panicked a little, wondering if he should go to the hospital. Half an hour later, Xiao-chee started crying. Her fever had worsened. Yanne carried Xiao-chee in his arms and used a ride-hailing app to call for a car, but he couldn't find one on Riverbay Road at this time of night, and the nearest hospital was 4.5 miles away. He remembered Chahng had an electric two-wheeler, but he hesitated over whether to knock on his door. What happened? When Yanne came out to the living room, he ran into night owl Chang Jinxing, who was still up. He hadn't gone out that night, but he couldn't sleep before 4 a.m. because it felt like the day wasn't over yet. He was in the dining room putting up photos of everyone from the last time they went to play outdoor laser tag. Xiao-chee's running a fever, Yanne said. I'm thinking of... Chang Jinxing set aside what he was doing and came over to feel Xiao-chee's forehead. Damn, she's burning up. What's her temperature? Has she taken medicine? 100 degrees now, Yanne said, his brows deeply furrowed. I gave her medicine, but it won't stay down. I'll wake Yuwen up, said Chang Jinxing. Chapter 10. Yanne tried to stop him. I can just borrow Chunhong's e-bike. It's too cold outside, and her fever will get worse in the wind. Chang Jinxing headed upstairs. Yanne tried to yank him back, but he was already at Zhang Yuwen's door. Yuwen, wake up! Yuwen! Chang Jinxing knocked on the door, but there was no response. He tried the doorknob. It wasn't locked. Counting on his presumed familiarity with Zhang Yuwen, he went in and shook him awake. Zhang Yuwen was hugging a pillow, deep in sleep. Startled awake, he sprang up, thinking there was a fire. He didn't blame them when he found out what happened, though, and merely touched Xiao-chee's forehead. Any convulsions? No, Yanne replied. Zhang Yuwen went to get his car keys, and Chang Jinxing called out a reminder to him. Yuwen, put more clothes on. Yep, don't worry, Zhang Yuwen said. He headed to the garage to start the car and drive it out. Which hospital? The nearest. Yanne showed him the navigation steps. I know how to get there. It was the hospital Zhang Yuwen's grandmother worked at. He was familiar with the route. The two of them fell silent. Yanne didn't thank Zhang Yuwen, and Zhang Yuwen didn't probe any further. Yanne watched the night scene outside the window. The whole city was asleep, and the yellow street lights looked lonely. Cold rain was still coming down outside, and the wipers kept in constant motion, creating a halo of lights on the windshield that made Yanne feel like he was in a dream. If you aren't going to the children's hospital, you have to go to the A&E department here, Zhang Yuwen said when they arrived at the hospital's back entrance. You take her to register first. I'll park the car. Okay. Yanne quickly got out. Just go through this corridor and you'll see the A&E, Zhang Yuwen added. Zhang Yuwen parked the car and hurried over. It was flu season, and there were lots of patients at the hospital's accident and emergency department. Some were lying down, receiving intravenous drips, while others were coughing. Hearing Xiao-chee crying from one of the emergency rooms, Zhang Yuwen knocked and entered. A doctor he didn't know was listening to her heartbeat. Arriving at the hospital had alleviated Yuen's anxiety, as if he received an immunity to death buff the moment he set foot inside. "A viral cold," the doctor said. "If you're worried, we can do a blood test." Zhang Yuwen went to pay the fees while Yuan took Xiao-Qi to get her blood drawn. Xiao-Qi cried and, flustered, the two of them comforted her. Once that was done, they waited at the entrance for the test results. Zhang Yuwen stopped an exhausted doctor who was passing by. "Can you give her something to bring her fever down?" "If she's still the same after taking medication, giving her more isn't going to help. Besides, we can't increase the dosage any further." The doctor touched Xiao-Qi's little hands, his heart aching for her. "Since she already has a fever relief patch on, we'll just wait for her fever to subside." They sat in front of the emergency room together, awaiting the test results. Yuan, exhausted, looked down at Xiao-Qi in his arms. She drifted in and out of sleep, the fever making her uncomfortable and restless. Zhang Yuwen kept wanting to ask Yuan why he wasn't notifying her parents, given how ill she was. Then he realized that Yuan had probably lied to him. Maybe there were no brother and sister-in-law, and Xiao-Qi was, in fact, his own daughter. Zhang Yuwen was often deceived by sweet talk, but he rarely flew into a rage. Yes, some people were habitual liars, but he knew that the majority had their own difficulties, reasons to withhold the truth. Case in point, Yuan. The test report came back. Flu. The doctor sent them home with the advice to monitor Xiao-Qi and wait for the fever to subside naturally, although they would have to return if she worsened. If her fever was still over 100 degrees Fahrenheit tomorrow, they could give her an antipyretic injection, which was essentially a faster-acting version of the same medication Yuan gave her. Zhang Yuwen knew the hospital's modus operandi. As long as the patient wasn't in critical condition, read, dying right now, the doctors remained calm. After all, there was always someone sicker than you, and infants' illnesses were harder to treat. Experienced doctors generally believed that these newcomers to the world could rely on their own immune systems to overcome a virus. "Do you want to go to the children's hospital?" Zhang Yuwen asked. "Nah," Yuan said. "Let's go home first. It's easy for infections to spread, given how many sick people there are here. Besides, going there won't immediately bring her fever down." "Looks like it's gone down a little." Zhang Yuwen touched Xiao-Qi's neck. He wasn't sure if it was due to the cold weather outside or the fever relief patch, but she wasn't as hot to the touch. Once they were home, Zhang Yuwen headed upstairs to go back to sleep. "Just come in and wake me if something crops up. My door's open." "Thanks," Yuan said. "You're welcome." Zhang Yuwen yawned, returned to his room without looking back, and collapsed onto his bed. It was an agonizing night for Yuan. Xiao-Qi had never been so sick. From parenting courses, he knew, roughly, that fevers were common in babies, most of whom would have one around the age of 1. He just hadn't expected it would come out of the blue like that, catching him off guard. He measured Xiao-Qi's temperature with an electric thermometer every half hour. 104 degrees Fahrenheit. 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 103 degrees Fahrenheit, 103.5 degrees Fahrenheit, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 102 degrees Fahrenheit. It left him utterly exhausted. At 5:40 in the morning, he finally couldn't hold on anymore and fell asleep leaning against the headboard, Xiao-Qi in his arms. Dawn came. Yuan heard someone talking outside. Zhang Yuwen, who had already gotten up, was knocking on the door. "Yuan, has Xiao-Qi's fever gone down?" Blearily, Yuan got up and touched Xiao-Qi. She must have still felt uncomfortable because she started crying. "I think it's time for her medicine," Zhang Yuwen said. Having washed his hands, he touched her to gauge her temperature. "Doesn't seem to be as hot." The temperature on the thermostat read 102 degrees Fahrenheit. "I'll give her the medicine one more time," Yuan said. "If it still doesn't work, we'll go to the children's hospital." "Come out for a while," Zhang Yuwen told him. "Let the housekeeper clean your room first." Zhang Yuwen's room was a mess and smelled of Xiao-Qi's vomit from the night before, so he carried Xiao-Qi to the living room. The two housekeepers were already there for work. Oh, Liu Jingfang exclaimed, surprised. Whose little precious is this? Are you sick? Can you take a look at her? Zhang Yuwen asked Liu Jingfang. She took Xiao-qi into her arms. Raising 2 sons and 2 grandchildren had honed and deepened her parenting skills, and she'd also gleaned a lot of nursing knowledge from the Zhangs. Every time her children and grandchildren fell ill, she'd consulted Zhang Yuwen's grandparents. Over time, she came to learn even more than Zhang Yuwen did. As soon as Liu Jingfang took Xiao-qi into her arms, she said, "She's got a fever. I'll give her a Tui-na massage, and the fever will go away. Give me a moment. You boys go make her some milk so you can give her the medicine later." It was the first time Yanjuan had heard about the mysterious powers of Tui-na massage, so he was inevitably nervous. But Liu Jingfang moved with such practiced ease it left no room for doubt. First, she undressed Xiao-qi down to her diaper and sent the other housekeeper to wash her clothes. Then she spread out a towel on the sofa and massaged Xiao-qi's feverish body. After a full body massage, she wrapped the baby in the towel and carried her face down. Gently, she massaged the nape of her neck and the feng fu acupoint at the back of her head. Xiao-qi's loud cries gradually tapered off to soft sobs. Finally, they came to a stop. Milk at the ready, Yanjuan waited off to the side. When he took her temperature again half an hour later, it had gone down to 100. With a sweet and doting smile, Liu Jingfang carried Xiao-qi in her arms and fed her some milk, then burped her in one smooth motion. Another reading put her temperature at slightly over 100. "You can give her the medicine now," Liu Jingfang said. "I'll give her another massage after her afternoon nap." Yanjuan gave her the medicine, and Xiao-qi fell asleep. By that point, the cleaning was done too. Yanjuan returned Xiao-qi to the crib and left the door ajar as he stepped out to thank Liu Jingfang. "Auntie Liu can help you take care of Xiao-qi. She's very experienced," Zhang Yuwen said. "Just go to the office if you can't take the day off." Yanjuan finally had the time to look at his phone. His workgroup chat was full of snide remarks from his team leader, though they still approved his leave. Yanjuan thought about it, then decided, "I'll rest for a while before I go to work." Zhang Yuwen kept yawning as he made 2 cups of coffee in the kitchen and handed one to Yanjuan. "I'm sorry," Yanjuan said. "It's okay." Zhang Yuwen replied breezily. He'd been observing Yanjuan, this young man who spoke little and was already worn down by life despite his tender age. He wondered what kinds of responsibilities Yanjuan had on his shoulders and whether he'd made father part of his identity. This was a complex and contradictory character. Zhang Yuwen thought Yanjuan was handsome. If he were to meet him in the countryside, he would have thought of Yanjuan as a vibrant guy with healthy, tanned skin who loved sports and life and playing basketball. Well, don't you know? He had chiseled features and a great physique, and his height of 6 feet and 2 inches made him a great fit for all sorts of clothes. With just a bit of hairstyling, he could become a model. But Yanjuan didn't seem cognizant of his own appearance. Or maybe he just didn't care and chose instead to focus on work. His sense of responsibility gave him the air of a classic top, making him appear manly. But even the most masculine of men had moments of vulnerability. "I'm sorry I lied to you," Yanjuan said tiredly. Zhang Yuwen said nothing this time. Just watched Yanjuan silently. Whether as a matter of mutual trust or a desire to continue living at number 7 Riverbay Road, Yanjuan had to come clean. That much was clear. Yanjuan hadn't contacted Xiao-qi's parents once since that night. If Xiao-qi had a mother, you'd expect her to storm the house in an anxious rush to see her daughter. Given that Xiao-qi called him Papa, she was Yanjuan's child, and there were only 2 possibilities. Either he was divorced from or never married Xiao-qi's mother in the first place, or she was a child he had taken in. Instead of jumping to conclusions, Zhang Yuwen waited for Yanjuan to explain. "She really is my niece." Yanjuan looked Zhang Yuwen in the eyes, and his own were full of pain. He was tired of pretending. He had to come clean. Zhang Yuwen raised his brows, signaling for Yanjuan to continue. "Her story is tragic. Her biological parents passed away." Yuwen averted his reddened eyes and held a clenched fist under his nose as he started choking up. Trembling, he took out his wallet and pulled out a photo to show Zhang Yuwen. "This is my brother and sister-in-law. It happened 4 months ago. They died and left Xiaoqi behind. My mother still doesn't know about it. Take a break first. Catch your breath. Don't talk." Zhang Yuwen looked at the photo of the couple and understood immediately. The man in the photo bore a striking resemblance to Yuwen, and the woman held a baby in her arms. Zhang Yuwen stood up, walked to the other side of the table to stand beside Yuwen, and leaned down to hug him. Remaining in his seat, Yuwen turned slightly to hug Zhang Yuwen back, leaning into his waist as he sobbed with grief. The pent-up emotions that had been bottled up all this time finally found release. Just then, Chahng returned from his morning run. The scene startled him, but he tactfully said nothing and trod softly back to his room. Some time later, Yuwen regained his composure and Zhang Yuwen let go of him. Yuwen was now able to tell his story calmly. "My brother and sister-in-law ran a shop in Jiangnan. Back in July, they were on their way to make some purchases when they were involved in a multiple rear-end collision on the highway. My father passed away early, and my mother is old. She has cataracts, and her heart has always been weak. My sister-in-law had been on bad terms with her parents since she was a child. She ran away from home a long time ago and only got together with my brother later. We have no other relatives, and I don't want to hand Xiaoqi over to anyone else to raise. I don't want her to end up in the system." Zhang Yuwen nodded. "So you've been caring for her all this time?" Much more collected now, Yuwen explained. "I send her to the childcare center in the day and pick her up in the evening." Yuwen had come to Jiangdong City 2 years ago to seek refuge with his brother and sister-in-law. He also found a job here. The devastating news came like a bolt from the blue, and his life, which had been modest but full of familial warmth, was torn apart. He took care of the funeral affairs and canceled the lease for the apartment that his brother and sister-in-law rented. He didn't want to be separated from Xiaoqi. He was waiting outside the delivery room with his elder brother when she was born, and they had an emotional bond. He refused to hand her over to someone to be abused or neglected. He kept all of this hidden from his mother. Since her parents' deaths, he and Xiaoqi only had each other. Not wanting Xiaoqi to feel like she didn't have parents, he taught her to call him Papa. At least, this way, she would have a father. This is her birth certificate. Yuwen showed Zhang Yuwen a photo on his phone. You-chee's biological father was listed as Yan Dai. "The original's in my room. If you— No need." Zhang Yuwen cut in quickly. "I believe you. Unreservedly." They both fell silent. "Your mother doesn't call your brother at all?" "I used my brother's phone to send her voice messages. We sound alike, so all I need to do is change my speech habits. She hasn't suspected anything so far." Zhang Yuwen nodded and looked at Yuwen's room again. Xiaoqi was sleeping soundly, likely tired out by the hectic night. "You going to work now?" Zhang Yuwen asked. "We can take care of her for you." "Yeah, I'm going to the office," Yuwen said. "Thanks." He didn't ask what would happen to Xiaoqi next. If Zhang Yuwen chased him out, he had no choice but to accept it. After all, Zhang Yuwen had never agreed to a child in the house. Yuwen had deceived Zhang Yuwen, and now the ball was in his court. If Zhang Yuwen said, "Sorry, but you can't stay here anymore," or even dropped a hint to that effect, Yuwen would move out that very afternoon. But after a long silence, what Zhang Yuwen said was, "So, when are you going to pay your rent?" Sorry. Yuwen was taken aback. Then it dawned on him. Zhang Yuwen had accepted him and Xiaoqi. Now, Yuwen stammered. "Yes, it's right now." He transferred the money to Zhang Yuwen from his phone, claiming the title of the first tenant to pay the full rent and deposit. Zhang Yuwen checked his account. "Okay, got it." Yuwen looked at him with gratitude and emotion, his lips trembling as he tried to convey his thanks. He couldn't find the right words. His eyes reddened again. Finding himself abruptly at a loss for how to handle the situation, Zhang Yuwen borrowed Yanjuan's own technique. He said stiffly, "Go on, I'll see you later." Having ruthlessly cut the conversation off and halted the exchange of feelings, he cleared away the 2 coffee mugs and hurried back into his room. Well, all right, you guys. That concludes the reading of chapters 7 through 10. And they were quite interesting. I honestly was not expecting the turn the vibe took, but I'm here for it because I love a good laugh. But of course, at some point, things have to get serious. So I'm only going to cover just a couple of things that I can remember off the top of my head. And I'll have to listen to this and take my more extensive notes later. So I absolutely adored chapters 7 and 8 of them basically getting ready to go off to play this game together. Of course, before that, we have, I guess, a little bit more information that's just learned about each of them and what they've been doing and whatnot. And Jung Weize, I think Chunhong's mental thoughts about him pretty much describe him the best. Like, he's young. In my mind, I'm like, yeah, Zhang Weize, he's young. He's a kid. But it was very nice to see that the dynamics between everyone are very good thus far. You know, it's kind of one of those things where I don't know about you guys, but growing up, I was always taught, you know, like, everybody ain't your friend. And don't get me wrong, that's true, but that was said on a consistent basis. And so to see these 6 men just being in the same atmosphere as each other, and I'm sorry, was it 6? I meant to say 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5. Seeing them be able to get along very quickly and be friendly with each other and even consider each other as friends, to me, I think is an absolutely amazing thing. I mean, of course, as time goes on, you can truly tell who's a true friend or a real friend. But I think friend is a term that can be used on any occasion. And there are people who are our friends for a season, people who are our friends for a lifetime, you know, and then people who, yeah, we probably shouldn't have called friend, but that's, you know, because of our lack of discernment or our lack of understanding and wisdom and all of that stuff. So it's just really nice to read those chapters as they get ready to go and play this fun laser tag game. And sorry about my outbursts when I was reading chapter 7 because, oh my gosh, these men are hot. I ain't even gonna lie. And it's funny because I looked at the picture of Suh-chun, at least I'm assuming this is him, and I think the man is hot. Out of the 3 that are in this photo, I think he's the hottest one, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, it was just nice to see them have so much fun together, and then Zhang Weize being silly after he got shot and falling into Jinxing's arms. I was like, sir, you were too funny. But clearly, also, Zhang Yuwen and Yanjuan have like a little battle going on between each other, even though, of course, they're battling the whole team. But I really like their interactions, and I don't know where things will go, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of shipping already. I am shipping Zhang Yuwen and Yanjuan. I just think that they have a very nice dynamic, you know, and Yanjuan is very observational, and he was able to peg Zhang Yuwen from the get-go, even though nothing has been said, nothing has been confirmed. And, you know, he just sees Zhang Yuwen as also a good person overall. And I just like their interactions together. I do think that Zhang Weize and Chang Jinxing's interactions are adorable as well, but I don't care about them as much just because, well, I guess because of Zhang Weize's, I don't want to call it superficial, but just because of his views on who he wants to be with and everything. It was like, oh, he instantly lost attraction to Zhang Yuwen once he found out that, oh no, he's just the sub-landlord. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like, I don't know. For some reason, we live in a society where if you find out someone's a gold digger, it's like, oh my gosh, you're a gold digger. That's awful. And in all honesty, I don't think that's awful. My whole thing is, if you want to be a gold digger, then you have to be willing to provide whatever it is that gold, like the person you're getting the gold from, wants. That's the way I see it. So, you know, it is what it is. Like when I think about me, well, I'm not a gold digger. My husband and I have been together since we were in college, okay? We came from nothing. We came from having to use our student refunds to pay for rent, having to pawn off belongings in order to pay for rent, close to evictions and stuff. So I'm not a gold digger. But when I tell you, I am so happy that we are at a point in life now where he pays all the bills. He takes care of me. And I am so happy. I don't want to change this arrangement whatsoever. And so now any bills that I pay are because of things that I've bought and put on a payment plan, or, you know, like I'm the one who decides to pay money for our timeshare where we go around the world or whatever, and, you know, for vacations and whatnot. So like, I don't think there's anything wrong with Jung Weize's point of view. I'm not going to lie though, because of how I've been wired from society's point of view, it was kind of like okay, I really don't like your character from that aspect. Not only that, but my guy, you are so young and naive because you're assuming just because he has a nice camera means that he's rich. Did you not think that, yeah, it could be a gift? Which it absolutely was. That's the funny part. So yeah, he's probably my least favorite character. Not that I dislike him. But the other thing is, I really like Yan because even though he's lying about something big, and that is having a kid that is his, even if it wasn't originally his, he's a very honest person. Like everything else he's been upfront about, whereas everybody else has been lying their tails off, lying about their education, lying about, you know, what they do or how good they have it or how bad they have it. And it's just like, dang, everybody lying. I've never seen so much lions and tigers and bears, oh my, in my entire life. Nevertheless, it's just nice to see the chemistry between everyone working out very well. So then the other thing that I wanted to mention is actually coming from chapter 9, because I think this is just another thing that cements why I do like Zhang Yuwen, because I can see that he truly is a good-spirited person. And you get that especially from Yuwen's perspective, because he's looking at this man and he's like, you know, he has this just ability to instantly relax someone he's interacting with. He's very understanding, you know, and then even on page 99, Yuwen, it says that he was grateful because Zhang Yuwen saved him. I'm not saying that was Zhang Yuwen's intent, but by him doing what he is doing, honestly, he is helping people, whether he realizes it as that or not. These people are being given low rent for a quality living experience where they are. And that is going to be very helpful for them. Even if it's in this scenario still hard for them to afford, it would be harder for them to afford living somewhere else that would have standard rent. So I just really like his character because he's being very helpful and doesn't even know it. And again, even though he may have grown up lonely and doesn't really interact with others, he still is very good with people, just naturally. So I love that so freaking much. But one thing I will say is I am happy that Yuwen told the truth, even though Zhang Yuwen figured it out on his own after she got the fever and everything, because he's a little smarty patati. I'm glad that he told the truth. Just put everything out there. And Zhang Yuwen's response was, well, very much Zhang Yuwen. Like, what else would we expect? The other thing that I wanted to say is Danmei gets me so much because I think I have a decent vocabulary. Decent, I say, because there are plenty of words that I do not know. But sometimes in cases there are words that I do not know, but I can still figure out how to pronounce them at the very least. But when I tell you, Danmei just trips me up so much because I feel like these translators are using words that we don't use in our everyday lives sometimes. And it's just so funny that I don't really experience this in other books that I have read, American books, because even when I think about it on like page 110, where it says they were in the hospital and some people were lying down receiving intravenous drips, I was like, you mean IV? It was just so funny. Like, even doctors themselves just say IV. And so I thought it was just really funny. Anyway, poor Xiaoqi and her fever, but thankful for Liu Jingfang, who's got the magic hands and everything like that. These chapters were very good, and I hope you all enjoyed them. Please let me know your thoughts and reactions in the comment section. If you are enjoying this read so far, it's a really nice story, and things are not overly complicated right now. I say things are not overly traumatic, you know, because honestly, I'm still kind of, I'm good now, but I'm still kind of reeling and coming down from the trauma that I experienced in You-woo. So it's like having read the final volume of Peerless and then now jumping into this story, I'm like, yeah, this is nice. This is very, very nice. And even though we will jump back into trauma eventually, we get to bask in the non-trauma for now.